Hello and welcome to another processing tutorial. This one should hopefully be quite simple. It's an image of the Coma cluster and it's RGB data that I took using an Optilong L quad enhance filter with a one-shot color camera. So the first thing that we're going to do is integer resample, because I know that I'm better off downsampling this, like bin times 2 equivalent. Let's do that. There we go. And I've got an article on my urban astrophotography website all about integer resample and binning if you're not sure whether you should be doing that or not. Next, I'm going to crop this in a bit. I'm going to hold down Control as I do this to keep the ratio. And I'm going to crop it in because I want to have a bit more focus on these galaxies here, and also there are some like nasty gradients, and it will just make our life a bit easier if we crop all those out to start with. Let's just go with that, shall we? Okay, talking of gradients, next we're going to run gradient correction. So we're going to make a couple of versions and just test it out. I'm not particularly expert in gradient correction, but I think that you're supposed to keep these two bottom ones about equivalent, and if you've got simple gradients you have them quite low. So we'll try that. And we'll try one where they're quite high. We'll try it on this version. That didn't do too much, so this first one definitely worked better. Okay, looking pretty good. Let's make a clone of that, and we can always go back if we mess anything up. Next, we are going to run image analysis and image solver. This is just so that PixInsight will have lots of information about the image. That'll be useful soon. Great, and now we're going to run PSF image as a precursor to using blur exterminator. So we're looking at the full width half maximum on the x and y axis, and we want a number between those two, so let's say 1.5. Great, then we're going to get blur exterminator, put in 1.5. Everything else should be pretty good. Now we're going to run SPCC, and this will improve our colors. We are in, this is RGB broadband, so all this data up here is good. We need to choose a blank bit of background. Normally I find this really hard to do because I've got pictures of nebulae that take up the whole frame. But this time there is a fair bit of blank background. So region of interest from preview, the preview that we just selected there. And then we'll run that. This is the result. It looks black to start with. Don't worry, we just need to run an unlinked screen transfer function to get that back. We can delete that preview. And I think, my own preference here, but I think that there's still too much green. I like to take all the green out. And then it looks a bit like that. Let's make a copy again so that we can go back if we mess anything up. Now it's time to stretch our data. Just to keep this very simple, I'm going to use Easy Soft Stretch. And that's done. Let's just rename that and make a clone. Easy, because we soft stretched it using Easy. Alrighty. Next we want to make a mask so that we can make edits to either just the background or just the stars and the galaxies. And the best way to do that is to use range selection. And we're going to click on this little circle so that we have a preview. And let's increase not the fuzziness, sorry, the smoothness. And we want to play about with these sliders so that we have the stars and the galaxies selected, but not the background. That looks pretty good, I would say. Close enough anyway. Let's make that mask. and then we're going to apply that mask. And it looks red and horrible to start with just because it's showing us where the mask is. Let's take off that preview. There we go. And let's bring up curves transformation. And we can see that if we just play about with this, we're affecting the stars and the galaxies, but not the background. So let's give them a little boost. Just that for now, it's fine. And I like to boost the saturation as well. I have to boost the saturation of the entire image. There's a little yellow dot there, you can hardly see it, but you click on that and move it all the way up. And if you want to see the effect, you can click on this little button here. Let's just zoom in, and then our saturation moves up, boosts the colour. Let's run that and give it another little boost. Okay, looking good. What should we do next? Let's run a bit of unsharp mask. This is going to sharpen up our image. The default settings will be way too high, so let's just bring it down a bit. And we can click on this circle up here to do a before and after. Just subtle, let's do it a little bit more. Oops. To run that, we do like that. So we've done quite a bit to our stars and our galaxies, but the background is a bit too bright, isn't it? So what we can do is click on this button here to invert our mask. And now we've got all of the background selected and not the stars and the galaxies. So let's bring up our curves transformation. And let's darken that background. A bit like that. You get the idea. There's still a bit of a gradient there, isn't there? So let's remove that mask and let's see if we can fix that gradient. We've got some options. We could try gradient correction again. Let's give it a go, shall we? Move that quite low and see if that takes care of it. Yeah, it did darken it a bit. Okay, fair enough. Thank you, gradient correction. And then I think it's time for some noise exterminator. Let's try about 0.5. Okay, not bad. Looking quite good. At this point, it's just a case of going around and trying those steps again. We've got our mask made already, so we could reapply that if we wanted to alter the background or tweak the settings for the stars and galaxies. Lots of different things that we can do, but that's basically the gist of it. That's got us almost all the way there, just a case of playing about a little bit more. Thank you very much. I hope that was useful.